boring. Are the Bears boring, or is it just Hard Knocks boring these days? You know, when Hard Knocks started, it was cool because it really, this goes all the way back to why NFL film stuff was so cool and why, every week
Steve Sable and his pappy.
Yeah, and remember every week you're on Showtime, you'd sort of look forward to Inside the NFL because a lot of times it was deep dive X's and O's and behind the scenes stuff that we sort of take for granted today. You just didn't have access to all that stuff back then. And when Hard Knocks first started, the world was a lot different 25 years ago in terms of how we consumed content. And now, I don't know, I think it's just like, it's all out there. It's just
everybody wants to control the message instead of letting the message be given, and everybody drew their own opinion and thought about, they looked at it and they consumed it and said, okay, this is what I think about what I saw.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to shape the message and say, well, you don't get to think about what you saw. We're delivering you the message that we want to give
There's
you.
Probably something to that.
Yeah.
And the teams all create and generate their own content. So they're constantly pumping that out. You already see all this
And remember what I call that, though? That was propaganda.
Yeah.
Anything that comes from the team is propaganda.
Of course, yes.
It's got to be dismissed summarily, just outright. Don't send me this garbage, this prepackaged crap. I don't want to see it.
Let's continue this conversation a little bit after 2. Like, what is it? Are the Bears boring, or is Hard Knocks? Has it jumped the shark in a sense?
For me to poop on.
There it is.
That's it. Triumph, the comic talk.
Like, is it just sort of? Is it outdated in a sense? Do we? It used to be like you'd look forward to it every week, and you'd see a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and now, like, what are we really learning? We already know everything before Tuesday night, don't we? We see the stuff the Bears tweet out, the stuff that is sent out. We like everything's consumable up to the minute and on demand now. Like, what are we sitting around waiting for?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. Like, at least there could still be an interesting storyline that we haven't seen develop. But like, why are we not seeing that out of the first 2 episodes of Hard Knocks? Like, what is
the stories? We all know what the story is. Story's quarterback. How comfortable is he with his receivers? Can they protect him? Can they get anybody outside of Montez Sweat to rush the quarterback? What is the health of the defensive secondary? Cover that. Pound that in. I don't care if the family's going to the candy shop or they're going to the ice cream store. I don't care. I'm a football fan.
All right.
I don't want to know the human side.
Didn't that used to be part of the fun of Hard Knocks, or no? Was it all football? I'm trying to remember. Was it? What was it?
At the beginning, it was always football. It was always inside.
Yeah.
It was them taking you in, cutting guys, the Turk going to get people, getting rid of them. This is the plan of action. They used to have the story on the second running back, the young kid that was drafted as the second running back, like in Cincinnati, when they were trying to, put that youngster in that they drafted like
Giovanni
the 3rd, 4th
Bernard.
Round. That's it. Giovanni
Is that
Bernard.
who you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Giovanni Bernard.
Remember, they brought him out and they covered him a little bit. Then they started going to the artsy guys. Remember, this guy's an artist. Look at him painting.
I remember.
Yeah, he's an artist because he knows his football career is about to end. And now all of a sudden he's painting pictures.
We'll continue the conversation. And not that it's a bad thing. I don't mean that in a negative or like pejorative way. I mean, are they just a little boring? Is it? I don't care if they're boring or exciting. I want them to win. That's all that matters.
Right, that's all that does matter.
Like, Hard Knocks, I thought Tuesday was an absolute bore fest, to be quite honest.
Why was it boring?
I don't know. Nothing captivated me. Nothing was interesting. We know these storylines. I don't know. And DJ Moore with his family behind the scenes at the, what is that called? Which museum was he at?
The ice cream Museum of Ice Cream.
But it's the Sensory Museum. What do they call it? And I'm blanking on whatever the name is now, right? They got a name for it. I don't know.
I have no idea.
His daughter was cute as all get out. I'll say that.
Sure.
She's adorable.
The kids? Yeah, absolutely.
But like when the best thing about the episode is like a 4-year-old girl, I don't know. Like, what am I missing here? And what did I expect? There aren't a lot of drama. There's not a lot of drama with this team, which is good. Don't get me wrong. That's good.
I expected football. That's what I expected. I'm not getting it.
Well,
I'm getting too much crap. Too much of the side stuff. Too much of the fluff. I don't want the fluff. I want football, which is why I gave up on Hard Knocks. And the only reason I watch now is because I have to watch.
Because the Bears are involved.
I have to watch.
I know. Otherwise, we wouldn't. Really
Otherwise,
watch.
I wouldn't care about it.
You know what? Like, at least last year,
they can have all this great footage. They can have all this. The story you're telling is not fun. It's not good.
It's not. Even last year, like
it's uninteresting.
Even last year, you had like the Rodgers dynamic in New York, right? So like that, it was somewhat compelling. Did you watch any of last year's, or
no?
Like you're seriously just sworn it off
when they did the Raider one. When they did the Raiders, I threw it in the garbage.
That was it,
because it's where it belonged, in the garbage. But I got to watch. I have to watch. I don't have a choice. I have to watch.
Well, we have to at this.
Yeah,
point.
I have to. But it's no good. It's no good.
Are Bear fans disappointed, or what do you think their reaction has been mostly? Are they into it? Is it? I don't know. I mean, I know that we've been doing these post-game shows. I did not do this last week because I was gone. I was on it the first week. I'll be on it next week. The Dr. Pepper post Hard Knock show. It's the post-game show. It's the post Hard Knock show. And people have seemingly been into it. The audience has been good as we've done it on our streaming platforms, on YouTube and things like that. I mean,
have you asked people what they think?
I don't know. Like, what do people think? And again, I was gone for this last week, so I don't know what the conversation was even like. What conversation could have been had on that post-game show? I mean, what was the takeaway? I'm serious. That DJ Moore's daughter's adorable? Okay.
Well, that's true. I mean, but that's not what I'm tuning in for.
312-332-3776. And did Bear fans expect more, or is it like, no, it's Hard Knocks. This is what it is. It is just sort of fluff. It's cool that the Bears are on it, and you'll watch, and you're not expecting too much.
Here's the question, right? So there's usually now the Bears are already probably overhyped nationally because of having 7 wins, having a good defense, Caleb Williams, adding all the weapons, all that kind of stuff. But usually what happens is people fall in love with the team from Hard Knocks. Because remember, it happened with the Lions. Everybody's like, oh, man, the Lions are going to be great.
2 years ago?
Look at this. Yeah, look at this team. They're biting ankles or whatever, kneecaps, whatever it
ankles.
Was. And, like, this team's going to be good. And then they went out and they weren't good. And, like, it seems like every year, I don't think that
they were good late. Remember, they were good in the second half of the season.
This version of Hard Knocks is, I don't think anyone's looking at it as being like, oh, man, watch out for the Bears.
Oh, I don't think so. No.
Because I don't think you're seeing enough of the team. Like, Jurko's right. There's not enough football to, like, instill extra confidence in this team like we normally get. Like, there's always, like, the Madden curse, and there's always, like, the Hard Knocks curse. Where you're like, I don't know, this team's going to be overinflated. Everyone's going to overhype this team now because they've seen and they fall in love with a couple guys that are on the roster.
Carm, you asked, what were we expecting? I wasn't expecting to see it this soft, it's
soft.
Yeah, like it's, I said yesterday to Jurko, it's like watching the Care Bears.
Yeah.
I think it's very, now I would say
flaccid.
I was expecting it to kind of be boring because it has been boring. And Abdallah and I have gotten a lot of pushback around the hallways here in the last couple of years, suggesting that it's a boring show.
Yeah, that Hard Knocks you're saying just in general. That's what I say. Is it that the Bears are boring, or is just
it's just not. I think you guys laid it out. 10 years ago, it was awesome. It had more teeth to it. You saw the grit. You saw the football. You saw the meetings. You saw the swearing. You saw guys going after each other. And now it's fluff pieces, and that it's just not really that interesting. And I haven't found Hard Knocks interesting in like 4 or 5 years.
Here's the other thing. 10, 20 years ago, guess what you had? You had practice.
Yeah, that's true.
This is not practice anymore.
No.
I mean,
I don't know what it is.
It just isn't. It's what has happened to this preseason and to the tamping down of any real practice, all coming out of a collective bargaining agreement a decade ago.
Yep.
In which they felt like their get backs, the players were going to practice less.
If you won't give me money, then we won't beat the crap out of each other.
Right.
In what we can control.
And it's changed the way football looks in August.
Yes, it has.
Right, Jurk? And so maybe that's part of it.
I mean, if I was a player, I'd be happy.
Sure.
But as a fan, not so happy.
And Carmen, we talked about this yesterday, and I heard Shane Norling bring it up with Cap and Jay Hood today. There's no swearing, and it's weird.
Yeah, what's up with that? Like,
I agree with Shane.
Here, you guys did conspiracy theories yesterday.
We said this yesterday, and Shane echoed it today, that we believe that the Bears told them to edit out the swearing.
I could see, like, couldn't you see George McCaskey sort of making that?
I could see Kevin Warren doing it too.
Do you think George McCaskey's ever said a swear word?
I'm sure he has.
By golly.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's a G golly.
Yeah, I think he's a by. I think
he's Flanders.
We need
He's definitely
a
Flanders.
report from camp on Hard Knocks from owner George. I mean, that's what we need.
That would be fabulous.
From the morning show.
You know,
I would
Hoodie,
love to hear that.
Hoodie, get on it. Come on. I don't think George McCaskey's ever said a swear word in his life.
But do you think that Kevin Warren and McCaskey said to HBO, fine, we'll do it, but here's how we're doing it.
You have to bleep out the swear words?
We want families to gather around the TV.
That's right.
And think that you got the DJ Moore family thing. You've got, what's his face? What's the
Austin Reed?
Austin Reed's
family thing. Who's the other? There's a third family.
This a family-friendly program.
Who was the other? Rome's. Was it his mom?
Yeah,
in the stands?
Rome's mom.
Yeah. So it was a lot of
stands.
family stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised, Carm, we didn't get a rendition of Kumbaya.
Are families sitting down to watch Hard Knocks? I mean, aren't football fans watching Hard Knocks? I don't know. I mean,
They have a family dinner, then they have a prayer,
You
and then
probably
they sit
wouldn't,
in front of the televisions.
but now you can.
oh my God.
From the same station that brings you Euphoria, which is about a bunch of teens on drugs. Here comes Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
From the station that
From
brought
the
you
fans.
real sex when I was
George?
growing up.
Oh,
Yeah.
remember real sex?
Soft knocks.
God, real sex was good.
George said, I want this as hardcore as the Waltons.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, John Boy.
That's kind of what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Is that the show where they say goodnight?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
George.
Yes.
Good night, Matt.
Let's
night,
make this
Ryan.
like
Good
you
night,
know,
Kevin.
Kevin. Good night, Kevin.
Good night, Rome.
Good night, Rome. Good night, George. Good night, Mom.
Good night, Tory
Good night,
Taylor with the
Montez.
4th round pick.
Good
From
night,
the
Flus.
station that
Good
brought
night,
you
Shane.
Succession,
Yeah.
where the catchphrase was blank off.
Yeah.
Where we have Game of Thrones, which is as incestuous as it gets.
Oh,
Oh,
my
my
God.
heavens.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
was
Here comes Hard Knocks.
I mean, really, like, you know, you
Good
think,
night, Joniak.
think back to the opening episode ever
Good night, Tom.
of Game of Thrones, and you know it ends with a kid getting thrown out of the window, right? Because the brother and the
the first
sister
thing, yeah.
are having sex with each other.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the?
Yeah.
Am I misremembering?
No,
Or is
that's
it
the first episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Brother and sister
Yeah.
are having sex, and a kid gets thrown out of a window, and it's like, and here comes Hard Knocks.
Well, he
My
didn't get thrown
golly
out of the
gee.
window. He just got pushed out. He was peeking in the window.
Oh, is that
He
what?
had climbed up,
Oh, okay.
and then they just pushed
Well, I
him
thought
off the
Jamie
tower.
shoved
I
him
thought it was
off,
a
right?
nudge.
Off the tower.
Off the tower.
Off the tower.
Yeah, like, am I remembering that correctly? Like,
Yeah.
Isn't it? It was like, oh wow, so that's what we're doing with it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
I was a couple of seasons late to
Daenerys.
Game
The
of Thrones.
station that brought you Oz,
Right.
a real life look inside of prisons.
The
Here
Sopranos,
comes the Bears
you know?
and Hard Knocks.
Where Tony's going to strangle guys with whatever the hell he found when he was taking his daughter. You know, here's the same group that brought you the show where a guy takes his daughter on a trip to see colleges, and in the meantime decides to strangle an old mob informant.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, hey, go wait in the car, Meadow.
The same one after the accident where he kills Christopher.
Right. Yeah,
We can't even say one of the characters' names on the air from The Sopranos.
Well,
true.
you can say
I don't
Pussy
think
Pop
you could-
and Sarah. Oh, yes, you can. That's a.
And he
What are you
had-
talking
All
about?
right,
You
Carm.
can't.
Carm, we just warned
You
you.
can't. I literally just said you can't.
Oh, you're being
say his
ridiculous.
name.
That's
And
and
then
They're
you
clutching
say
their
it on the
pearls up
air.
at Hallis
That's
Hall.
ridiculous.
They're
How
listening.
dare you? This is the same network
This-
that has the Hard Knocks.
This
at
part of the
Bears.
show will not make Hard Knocks.
right.
This
yeah,
will not make it.
I guess not.
Thanks,
I'll
Carm.
never forget too, like when I finally said, all right, let me see what this Game of Thrones is all about. Because it's not my thing. The genre is not my thing. Now, that show was fantastic, but I was a couple of seasons late. And Jurko liked it, and Jurko's a tough critic. So I figured, if he likes it, it's probably pretty good. I'll never forget getting to the end of that first episode. I'm like,
Yeah.
so this is where we're going with
The
this whole
hell's
thing?
going
I
on?
was like, really? Holy cow.
And they had to set up all the characters in the first year. And if you're stuck with Game of Thrones through the first year,
Meantime,
then the second year got a little better. And then by the end, it went
It's
too
awesome.
far.
maybe, but it was
At
great.
the end, it went too far.
Meantime, now you've got Hard Knocks, and football players can't swear. They're bleeping out swear words from
Yeah.
football players. What has happened?
I don't know.
So I don't know. It's been very underwhelming, to say the least.
Nobody ever fights.
Maybe we'll get
There's never a disagreement anywhere. Everybody is always in agreement.
You know what might have been good for Hard Knocks this year? The Giants or the Lions, because at least you would have saw them beat the hell out of each other for
Yeah.
2 straight days.
Yeah.
at the joint practices.
That would have been good.
Where all they did was fight one another.
These guys might be what? Basket weaving and some leather making?
I don't know, man.
They're going to bring their alls out?
Tony in Yorkville. What's up, Tone?
What's going on, boys? How you guys doing?
We're good.
From the network that brought you Ari Gold gives you this.
Right.
Is just,
exactly.
So that's what's kind of talking about. It feels like the pendulum has just swung the other way. Like Jurko was saying, like it's rated G now, no swearing. Like I'm a diehard Chiefs fan. Could you imagine Gunther Cunningham being on that show now trying to edit it? He wouldn't be on the show.
He wouldn't even
like
it.
There's no characters. Like I was talking again, not taking shots, but when you have a boring ass head coach, it's downhill from there, right? You don't have any characters. When you're trying to force the characters out of the players, it just makes it just vanilla. And there's no, like, what happened to the position battles? Like Jurko said, when the hot new rookies coming in trying to take the old vet's job, like little Billy is also not watching this show. Like we want to see who's going to get, the second string job, or, who's fighting for the center position battle. None of that's being highlighted. Yeah. It's just, again, like there's no, you can have good drama. I don't understand what the point of like making every organization seem like everything is all hunky dory. No, keep it real like it was before. Cuss. I mean, for gosh sakes, even Disney's got Deadpool now. It's okay to cuss every now and then, guys. Just bring back the good old days, Jeez.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Thanks, buddy. Maybe you're right. But I don't know if it's missed the mark. Whatever it is, hasn't done much in the first couple. 2 to go. It's 4 episodes, right? We get 2 more, or is it 5 episodes?
5.
I think they were saying 5.
5 episodes. I guess that makes more sense because after exhibition game number 2, they'll have another one, 3, and then into the preseason. So I think if it's 3 more episodes, maybe something good will still happen.
Carm, are you even aware that half of us couldn't watch in real time?
Let me ask you that real quick here too. I had seen the text chain. So I was in New York City Tuesday night. I saw a show on Broadway, which is coming here to Chicago, by the way. It's the Back to the Future musical. Really good. For those of us that love that movie, I think it was well worth it too.
Carm, August 13th to September 1st.
So it just started.
It's right here up on the pole.
It was great.
Next to Chicago Welcomes to DNC. loopchicago.com to get your information on the Back to the Future.
It was great. The stuff they do with the car is honestly fantastic. I mean, it'll blow your mind. I mean, it's
the DeLorean.
Yes, really well done. It was fun. I'm sitting there watching it, and my phone. I had 15 text messages, and it all started with Pat, the designer, saying, "Hey, am I crazy here, guys, or is this last week's episode?" And then I saw Chris and Adam and everybody else sort of chime in. Do you know I couldn't watch the episode streaming on my tablet until 11 p.m. East Coast time? I was on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't let me stream it and watch the latest episode until 11 p.m. And I stayed up till midnight watching it in the hotel. Why was that? Why? And Chris, you said, like, what was going on? Why couldn't you guys watch it live?
Well, when you mean live, it's supposed to appear on Max at the same time it airs live. So you should be able to watch it at the time that it airs.
Why was that not the case?
I don't know. I don't work for Max. I don't know. But it didn't populate for me until like 9:15 Central Time. So like an hour and 15 minutes after. But I mean, at that point in the evening, I was already off to watching something else. I was logged into Max. So I started watching Dune.
So you watched Dune. Nice.
I watched the end of Dune 2. And
second one?
Yeah. And I was like, all right. So I eventually went back to it, but
they swear more in a different language in Dune
they do.
than they do in Hard Knocks.
Yeah, they do.
I want to grab a few more calls on this because some people want to talk about it. Is it the Bears? Is it Hard Knocks? Does it just change too much? Is there too much control that the teams now have in terms of what can and can't be seen? They try to push back against that. Like, I think HBO and the league try to push back against that. I'm not so sure I buy it. And if they're bleeping out swear words at the insistence of the Bears, I mean, give me a break. It's HBO. It's 8:00 on a Tuesday night on HBO or 9:00 on Tuesday night.
Let's let it roll.
I mean, come on. What are we talking about?
Maybe
here?
They want to bore people to death.
Yeah.
Maybe
if that's the goal, you might be, you're achieving, you're succeeding.
They are.
312-332-3776. We'll be right back.